Since its launch in November 2022, ChatGPT has taken the world by storm. It was the fastest growing product in history to gain over 100 million users, while its release was clearly a big bang moment for wider generative AI. Just see this Google Trends graph for ChatGPT and AI. The takeoff for both happened at the same time. It's still growing at a remarkable rate, and it will probably reach 1 billion monthly active users within 12 months of this video's release. It's also currently by far the most widely used AI chatbot, with over 60% market share. So ChatGPT is one of those tools that will become general usage, like spreadsheets, word processing documents, or Google. I also see it as the Swiss Army knife of AI. There are lots of tools out there that can do particular things slightly better than ChatGPT, but very few that compete at a general level, say for writing, coding, analysis, and image generation. So it's a really good AI tool to learn and master, and if I had to pick just one AI tool, ChatGPT would be it. Even if you use it regularly, there are probably a few features that you've missed. So in this video, we'll be running through a ChatGPT crash course from basic prompting, account setup and tuning, and its more advanced prompting. And by the end of it, no matter what your skill level, you'll be fully equipped to get the absolute most out of ChatGPT. I'll start with a bit of background on what ChatGPT actually is. It's an advanced conversational AI, or chatbot, developed by OpenAI. The GPT part stands for Generative Pre-trained Transformer, which is a type of large language model. Rather than being pre-programmed like a computer, large language models are trained on billions of words across the internet to understand language and context exceptionally well. It's like having a super smart assistant that can help you with writing, problem solving, and research, amongst other things. Let's head over to chatgpt.com and try it out. When you first arrive, you'll be shown the simple taskbar. You can actually interact with it without logging in at all, so I'll show you some basics here. The main thing we need to do is provide it with a prompt. There are also some buttons to help you prompt too, and if you click More, you'll be shown some more options. I want it to help me write, so I'll just click that one. Then it comes up with some further options of what you want it to write. I want it to help me write a blog post. So when I click that, it starts a prompt, and it automatically requests that ChatGPT asks about the topic and tone to get started. So it's replied in its conversational way, and I'm going to write into the prompt box that I want it to write a blog post that accompanies a video called ChatGPT Crash Course, from Basic to Advanced User. I want that in a professional tone. From here, ChatGPT might come up with a few different routes. Sometimes it might just write out the blog post straight away, or it could also come up with some clarifying questions. These questions will give it more context, which should get closer to what I want before it writes it out. I want to tell it my main goal, which is that I want to offer comprehensive, practical advice on ChatGPT from the basics through to every advanced feature that it can think of. The audience is everyone who wants to learn ChatGPT from the beginning, with some intermediate or more advanced users also getting some direction on its best features. This is known as prompt stacking, which is basically giving it more detailed instructions. It's asked me to log in given there's been a few exchanges on this chat, but I can stay logged out for now. Now on this take, ChatGPT was feeling very chatty and provided me with a blog post structure. Most of the time it would just write the blog. In this case, I'll say, go ahead. So now it's written up a very comprehensive response of over 1,000 words. ChatGPT doesn't typically write longer responses than this on the free version, but it has asked me if I want it to continue. So I'll ask it to continue with the more advanced features and conclusion. This is a great start. It's written a ton of information in just a couple of minutes of our chat. I think the main thing about this chat so far is how specific the prompting needs to be to get the best answers. ChatGPT has been asking me throughout what it needs to create a response to my liking. Now, I just want to move on to another technique called prompt chaining. This is where I ask it to add some additional points which I don't think it's covered yet. So I'm going to ask it to provide me with some more information on advanced features like image generation and deep research. It's basing its response on our chat history, so I don't need to provide it with additional context. You could do this on anything, asking it for expansions, edits, or variations step by step. You can even get ChatGPT to critique its own output. Just say something like, I want to improve what you've written using a thought leadership tone for executives. But let's think if we were being really detailed from the start, we wouldn't need so much of this back and forth to get to what we wanted. I could have provided it with a lot more structure to begin with, or give it my own bullet points. There's lots of different ways you can prompt ChatGPT, as you're basically having a conversation with AI. There's also a ton of free resources online for how to prompt, like Reddit threads in this giant article. If you want to get deeper, then just Google ChatGPT prompts and have a look around. I really like this example by OpenAI co-founder Greg Brockman for prompting the O1 model, a more advanced version of ChatGPT that's available to pro users. As his goal, he said he wanted a list of the best medium-length hikes within 2 hours of San Francisco. Each hike should provide a cool and unique feature and be lesser known. Then he stated a return format, adding a warning, and then provided a lot of background context. So the recommended approach is, firstly, state a goal of the information retrieval. Second, explain how it should be formatted. Third, clarify what you don't want. And fourth, provide background context. I think this example is really interesting because even one of the co-founders of OpenAI, using an advanced version, is aware that ChatGPT can get things wrong. His warning is, be careful to make sure the name of the trail is correct, that it actually exists, and that the timing is correct. This is to protect against what's called hallucinating, basically where ChatGPT generates information that is factually incorrect, misleading, or completely fabricated, even though it presents it confidently as if it were true. It can happen because it doesn't have direct access to real-world knowledge or databases. Instead, it predicts text based on patterns it has learned from vast amounts of data. Back when ChatGPT was first launched, this was a much bigger problem, to that maybe 30 to 40% of its output was a bit iffy. But it's got so much better since 2024. I don't tend to see many hallucinations on fact-based information where there's been a lot of existing material for it to train on, but I still come across it a lot when I'm asking it to help me through software troubleshooting. Basically, I use ChatGPT as a tutor on how to work with no-code tools like Make in n8n. A lot. But I wouldn't expect ChatGPT to be a complete master of all the input features, forms and buttons on those platforms, but it does a pretty good job. But it also convincingly makes stuff up, which leads to frustrating dead ends. Now, if you're publishing information that it provides, like a blog post, then I really recommend being knowledgeable about the topic you're posting on and checking its work. I totally expect ChatGPT to be an expert on its own features, but even then, it didn't take everything into account from my prompt. Remember, it didn't provide me with every advanced feature that it could think of, so I had to prompt it some more, which is basically correcting it for things that it missed out. Meanwhile, it might not be quite as good at telling me the molecular construction of a diamond. It might be, but how would I know? I don't know anything about that topic. So think of ChatGPT as an assistant and use it to amplify your thinking, not replace it. It's an amazing creative partner and productivity booster. But the strongest results will come when human judgment leads the way. This is particularly important if the content you want assistance with is focused on your money or your life topics, like health, finance or legal, or the serious stuff. If you publish ChatGPT provided information, then you could end up in hot water. So call in the experts for these. ChatGPT can do a lot more than writing though. So far we've covered off the very basics on the free version without logging in. We're missing some features like image generation and interpretation, while I want to push it to some more complex tasks. So let's log in. For this part of the demo, I'm going to be using ChatGPT Plus. That's the $20 a month paid tier. You can do some of what I'll show you in this section on the free tier when logged in, but there's a limit on the number of chats you can have in a 5-hour window. And sometimes you have to wait for image generation. You also can't use deep research, which I definitely want to show you. Basically, if you want to use ChatGPT every day, it's worth subscribing to Plus for $20 a month. So if you're on the free tier, just go to the bottom here and click on Renew or Get ChatGPT Plus. You'll be taken to this screen where you'll have 3 options, where you can see the differences in tiers. I use Plus all the time, and I don't really need advanced features like Operator or Sora video generation. So back in the main interface, we've got fewer options than we did in the free versions, but these features are more powerful. Before we get into these though, I just want to show you a useful context providing setting. Just click on your profile icon and then click Customize ChatGPT. In this window, you can say what you want ChatGPT to call you. So I'll write James. What do? I'm an AI content consultant that works with media companies on automation and transformation. What traits should ChatGPT have? I'll just say straight talking and to the point. Then is there anything else ChatGPT should know about me? I wear a lot of different hats, and I want to use ChatGPT for writing assistance, image generation, instructions on how to use no-code automation, a bit of coding assistance, and data analysis. There's also this arrow down here that says advanced. I want to keep all these options, so nothing to do here. Click Save, and it's back to the main interface. There are a couple of other features I want to show you before we get into the prompting demos. If we just head back into the settings and personalisation again, there's this toggle for memory. This is an option for ChatGPT to use your previous interactions with it in its responses. So you kind of have more of a relationship with it. I've seen a trend on LinkedIn where people have written, "Tell me something you know about me from all our interactions that I am likely not aware of myself," and ChatGPT will write out a response. While this is pretty interesting for finding out personal blind spots, some people might find it a bit creepy, and not everyone wants to have all their chats with ChatGPT go into its memory and training data. Under data controls, there's also this option which says improve the model for everyone. What this really means is that you're giving permission to train ChatGPT on your content and interactions. So if you're providing it with things like company or personal data, you want to switch this one off. Now I'm going to go into connected apps. This is for linking ChatGPT with your Google Drive or Microsoft OneDrive. In theory, this is pretty powerful, as you could call up documents from your drive and get ChatGPT to interact with them. But if you're concerned about privacy and company data security, then don't hook it up. Also, at the time of this video's release in mid-2025, these features don't work brilliantly yet. I've tested it out and it's a bit hit and miss, but they'll improve towards the end of this year. In the speech settings, you can also change the voice that replies if you use voice prompting. There are 9 options here. If you want to use voice for your prompt, then you just click down here on the chat interface and this black dot will appear. Now you can have a conversation with ChatGPT. I only use this feature on mobile because it's not that easy to type, but you can use it on desktop as well. Let's just do something basic. Hey ChatGPT, what's the capital of Great Britain?
Hey James, the capital of Great Britain is London.
Alright, so we've got the answer. Basically, almost anything I show you prompting wise using text can use voice mode. Back on desktop, in the top left hand corner there's this drop down to select which model you want. ChatGPT will select the most suitable and advanced model for you by default, but there might be a chance to test out the preview of a cutting edge model here, or switch to one that's a bit lighter and faster. For this demo, I'm just going to keep it at 4.0. Now I want to push some of my prompting a bit further than in the intro. Let's say that you have a meeting lined up with me and you want a bit of background information on me. I'm going to prompt, "I'm having a meeting with James Carson, an AI content strategy consultant from the UK who runs the agency Absolutely Agentic. Can you give me 500 words of background information on him?" So with that, I provided a goal, as much context as I have, and a return format. For this, ChatGPT uses its web search feature and finds information from a few websites to come up with a comprehensive answer. I've got to say, I'm pretty impressed with this. It looks like it's based these paragraphs on a white paper I wrote. For background research, this is great. If you want to push search a bit further, then you can go into settings and add the ChatGPT search extension into Chrome. This will default your Chrome search to ChatGPT, and every time you search in here, you'll be taken to ChatGPT and it will provide a response. Now this is pretty interesting, but it's also a bit slow compared to Google, and ChatGPT really works best with quite detailed prompts. Say for instance, you search for something transactional like car insurance. This is okay. It provides me with a few options, but I've got to say I still prefer Google, so I'm going to switch it off. Now I want to get ChatGPT to look into a minor SEO problem I'm having. When I go to Google, our website title is showing the domain, not the actual title, so I want ChatGPT to troubleshoot that. I'm going to provide it with a screenshot of how our site appears on Google with the following prompt. I've got a problem with our website on Google. It's showing the domain name instead of the website title above the HTTPS URL of the website. See screenshot. I'm using WordPress, and on the homepage the SEO title is set in Yoast as Transform Your Business with AI, site title. Why could it be showing the domain name? So it's provided me with this long response. It's basically suggesting that Google lacks confidence in our brand name. It's a pretty new site, which has only just been indexed. Also, it tells me that the Google index cache could be outdated. Based on this, I'm going to do a couple of things. First, I'm going to update the title of the homepage in WordPress so the brand name is at the front. We can do that with a bit of an update to the tagline too. Then I'm going to go to Search Console and tell it to re-index the page. I wasn't really thinking of those solutions before, but it's provided me with some possible options, so that's pretty neat. Next up, I want it to do a bit of vibe coding. Nothing too advanced, just a bit of CSS. On our tools pages, we have a few lists that use icons. At the moment for pros, we have these ticks and crosses for cons. I want to give this a bit more personality using some emojis. We use Elementor for our WordPress setup, and in the field for pros in the custom CSS, there's some existing code that ChatGPT wrote a while back. I want it to change this so it's fire emojis. You previously provided me with this code to create a list of checkmarks. I want you to provide me with CSS that changes the checkmark to a fire emoji. So it's done it. That looks pretty cool. Now I want to use the poo emoji for the cons. Same procedure again, and that works too. Bit of a unique feel to this page, and I'm not entirely sure we'll keep it, but it's still a pretty good example of using ChatGPT to code. I can just about read CSS, but I'm not a coder, so this saves a huge amount of time. If we want to push this further, you can use ChatGPT to code in almost any language. Preferably, you'll know what you're doing. Next, I want it to do some data analysis. So just as a bit of background here, on our website absolutelyagentic.com, we maintain a list of the top 100 AI tools. I want to run some analysis here on what the top tools by page views are. I've gone into Google Analytics and downloaded a CSV of all the pages and screens data since the site was launched. Now I want to find out what the most viewed AI tools pages have been, and I want it to create a visualization of the top pages. Now you need to format the CSV a bit to speed up the process, and I'll save it as an XLS file because sometimes ChatGPT has trouble with CSVs. Firstly, I'm going to prompt it with, attached is a pages and screens page views report from Google Analytics in XLS format. Could you tell me what the top 10 AI tools are, ignoring the directory? Okay, that's a good start. I've got a nice clean list, if not very many page views. That's not ChatGPT's fault. Now I want it to do some visualization. Using the initial XLS upload, could you provide me with a bar chart visualization of the top 50 AI tools by page views on the website? And it's come back with this, which is pretty much what I wanted. Top job, ChatGPT. Okay, now I want to go back to some of the creative features for our blog posts that weren't available on the free version. This chat has gotten a bit busy, so I'm going to switch over to a chat where I've prompted ChatGPT to write the accompanying blog post for this video, as we did at the beginning. But this time, I've uploaded the script so it has a much better guide. I also now want to use Canvas so I can edit what ChatGPT has written in the application. So I can just click Canvas and it will write it out again in there. Now I can go in and edit the copy directly, but you can also highlight bits of text and tell it to rewrite. This part here has too many bullet points, so I'm going to ask it to write it out in prose. This doesn't always work perfectly, and sometimes it can fail, but if it does, it generally resets itself and does what you asked. There's also some features to Canvas on the bottom right. When you hover over the crayon, you can ask it to add emojis, add a final polish, adjust the reading level, or adjust the length. So I'm just going to adjust the reading level up to graduate school. Now it will change the draft into something a bit more studious, or perhaps just a bit more wordy. I think it reads a bit weird. Helpfully, there's this set of icons at the top. If you click on Show Changes, it will show the latest edits. Now I want to revert back to the previous version. And we're good again. You can also copy the entire document. For instance, if you want to put it into your blogging software, and you can share it with other ChatGPT Plus users to edit it together. Basically, if you have a team working on ChatGPT, you don't have to revert to other editing tools like Google Docs or Word, although it's definitely missing a few features to be a really good editing application. Now I'm going to close the canvas down and the document shows in chat. I want a couple of images to go with my blog post, so I'm going to prompt it, could you create a 16:9 featured image for the top of this blog post? I want it to show a ChatGPT University in a comic book style. ChatGPT image generation takes a while, but what I've got back is pretty good with what is a basic prompt. Then I want another to go into the body of the blog post. In the same style, could you show a man at a laptop on his desk in a coffee shop? That'll work well for the earlier prompting section. So now I have a blog post that accompanies this video with a couple of images in a comic book style. Just think of how much effort that would have taken before. You'd need to heavily edit the script to turn it into a blog post, and I've also got a few extra images. The last part in the main interface, I want to show you deep research. It's a bit of a different feature to the prompting so far, and you only get 10 tasks a month on the Plus plan. But currently I'm researching AI agents, so I'm going to give it this prompt. I'm researching AI agents. I want a 2,000 word document that gives an overview of what they are and how they work, and how they will transform business. I want insights from top tier consulting firms like BCG, McKinsey and Accenture, as well as academic references. Before we get started, it's asked me a few clarifying questions. So I'm just going to answer them quickly. Okay, and we're ready to go. This is deep research, so it takes a lot longer to formulate a response, normally more than 5 minutes. So once you've given it your prompt, you probably want to kick back and do something else for a while. Now I've returned and it actually provided me with 12,000 words, which is not quite what I asked for, but not bad. We're not going to go through all of that now, but yeah, that's a lot to work with. So I've shown you all the main options in the standard chat interface. This is what you'll use for most of your tasks, but up here there's a whole other world of customized ChatGPT called CustomGPTs. We could spend a whole video going through all the options up here, and there are literally thousands of them. But for this video, I'm just going to show you how to set one up. When you're in this area, go to Create and you'll be shown a configuration screen. You can chat to set up your custom GPT, but there's also this option to go to Configure. Chatting will just configure it anyway, so I'm going to go into here. Now I'm going to set up something quite specific. In our company, we've written quite a few long PDF guides. I want to create a custom GPT that is trained on our editorial tone of voice and style that can take the PDFs provided and convert them easily into LinkedIn posts. So I'm going to give it a title, PDF to LinkedIn writer will do, then give it a little description. Now the instructions are the important part, and my prompt and background is going to be quite long. So I'll just copy and paste my background into there. But basically I've followed the goal, format, and what I don't want, and background context we used to structure our earlier prompts. Now that I've done that, I can add some PDF files to our CustomGPT's knowledge base. I'll just add 2. In conversation starters, I'll write in, write me a LinkedIn post. So now I've configured my CustomGPT. It's almost like a kind of agent that does a very specific task. So I prompt it here, and look, it's come back with a LinkedIn post I can use. I'm going to ask it to write out a couple more. I quite like these, definitely usable after a bit of editing. But if I don't, I could go back into the configuration settings and fine tune my prompt. Just add a bit more to here and wait for it to save. Then I head back to the chat and ask it to write out some more. And there we go. A simple custom GPT works pretty well for writing out LinkedIn posts. But as I said, there are loads of options. Check out the GPT section for some inspiration. Related to custom GPTs is the Projects feature just here. If you click on New Project and give your project a name, then you can keep chats and files related to a project in one place, with its own custom instructions. As it says, it could be to keep things tidy too. So if I create a project, I just have the options to add files and add instructions, which is very similar to what we've just seen with custom GPTs. Here you also have access to tools, just as you would in a standard chat. There's a great blog post by Neil Perkin about how to use projects effectively in strategy work, but it's really applicable to anyone. A link is at the bottom of the description. We've come a long way. The final feature I want to show you is also outside the main chat interface. It's called Tasks, and it's just here under Settings. This is an assistant to send you information on a schedule. As you can see here, it can send you reminders and news. So at the moment, I probably get as much AI news as anyone, but let's just click this button and it will come up with a prompt. On Fridays at 2 PM, send me a summary of the latest news in AI. Keep it brief and keep an eye out for especially surprising stories. I'm just going to adjust that so that it's every day at 12 PM. Then it's given me a quick think and it said it's got it. So every day at 12 PM, ChatGPT will send me an email summary of what's going on in AI. Here's what it sent me. Not a huge amount of info in my inbox, but when I click it, it goes into ChatGPT. It looks good, so I think I'll keep that up. You can also turn on your desktop notifications here if you want. Okay, so that is the end of this crash course. If you've made it this far, you've learned a lot about ChatGPT. In just doing this demo, I've learned a lot of new features that I'm going to start using. I wasn't using scheduled tasks, but now I've set it up. Why not? Canvas was another one I wasn't really using enough, but it's so useful if you want to iterate responses in more detail. ChatGPT is general purpose and easy to use. I think the biggest barrier to entry is really changing your habits. If you've been using Google for years for research, or you're not using AI for writing or analysis, then it can seem a bit clunky or strange. But I think if you take what you've seen from this video and check in with ChatGPT at least once a day for a task, you'll quickly find that you'll be more productive. It will just become second nature. Start thinking about those daily tasks where you'd like assistance, then sign up, get a plus plan, and get prompting. So thanks for watching everyone. If you like this video and want to get more out of AI, then like this video, leave us a friendly comment, and make sure you subscribe to the channel. See you next time. It'll be absolutely agentic.